Big Bill, Big Bill, I see that boss man coming down the line. Big Bill, Big Bill, I see that boss man coming down the line. Best not let him catch you messing round with Adeline. Adeline, Adeline, love that girl as sweet as country wine. Adeline, Adeline, love that girl as sweet as country wine. Bill, she is the boss man's daughter, best not cross that line. Boss man, boss man, I see that shadow running across the hill. Boss man, boss man, I see that shadow running across the hill. Best look to your daughter, 'cause it just might be Big Bill. 1, 2. Big Bill, Big Bill, I see that boss man coming down the line. Big Bill, Big Bill, I see that boss man coming down the line. Best not let him catch you messing round with Adeline. Best not let him catch you messing round with Adeline. Best not let him catch you messing round with Adeline.
So welcome to Big Blend Radio's Toast to the Arts show. Today we have award-winning Bay Area musician Blind Lemon Pledge. It's James Byfield. He's on our show. He's been on our show for years, but we've missed him for a few years. And I was trying to think about, like, when was the last time? It just feels like donkey years, right? But he's back on the show with his latest album, which is called Oh So Good. And it is oh so good. And it's his 10th album, his 10th solo album. So welcome back, James. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has
And
been. I realized 3 years.
it is
Well,
3 years.
I took a hiatus. I had released one album a year for 4 years, and I decided it was time to take a vacation. So that's what I did.
Wow. Are you still performing out and everything, right? Because you've got your
Yeah, I was
band.
still
Yeah.
performing out, but I decided rather than, that I would take a year off where I did no recording, and then I would give myself a full year to do everything I needed to do on the album, the recording and the video and all that stuff. So nothing felt pressured and rushed. And then I finally got to this year and I released it.
Awesome. Awesome. So 10, I'm saying the perfect 10, right? So it's like Bo Derek's gonna walk out of the beach any minute. But no, but with doing this, what do you, because you've done so much in roots music, which I think is so crucial in this album, you stay very true to that. So tell me a little bit about sticking to that, but still progressing on, because each song is always different and you always bring in something. Like you've got House of the Rising Sun, which we're going to close this off with for those watching the video. But Big Bill, starting that album, Big Bill is like this old cry. And Nancy and I, like, when we first started talking to you about your albums, we've been traveling around and,
Yeah.
all through Mississippi. We've been through like the Appalachians. We've done it now, and your music
Mhm.
just fits in so perfectly. But Big Bill just has that cry, that angst, that it goes really, by the way, it plays really well in the backwoods of North Carolina. I'm just
That's
saying, I
that sounds
it
great.
does. And you're driving through,
Yeah,
there's old tumbled down barns and
yeah,
little
yeah,
creeks running, and somebody's got a moonshine distillery going out there somewhere, they do. But
yeah.
it just feels good. It's a good album out there. That's where I first listened to it, was out in the
Well,
backwoods.
thanks, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I this well, you remember probably that album I had called "Going Home" that I
Yeah,
released a
yeah.
few years ago, and that was the first album where, just by accident, it was a really trimmed down sound. It was just me and a bass player, and I got such good response from that, and it sort of changed my whole thing. I went, I need to make everything trimmed down from now on. So the
Mm.
last album had me on guitar and harmonica, and this time I decided to shave it even more and just have. In fact, it's interesting. Nobody's noticed it, but there's no fills on the album. There's no
Mm-hmm.
guitar fills. The only guitar is always the solo in each song, but otherwise it's just rhythm guitar, bass, and drums. And people have been really responding to that, the slim down sound, and I think that's where I'm at now. I know
But I
it's
think
where I'm
it's
at.
important because at the same time, our music and our world is, we're in the world of AI. We're in
Yeah,
this world of, you know, everybody's auto-tuned and so digital, and so I think we need some authentic realism happening, that is just
yeah.
like, this is actually from the heart and soul. It's craft. It's just down, it's very down home, you know.
Well, that's what I was hoping for, and Big Bill in particular.
Yeah, I love that song.
I'm always trying to write songs that make it sound like it's something you've heard. That
Mm,
you go, oh, I must have heard that as a kid or something. And try to capture the real feel of whatever style I'm going for. And I love the Alan Lomax prison and work gang songs that are out there. And you may remember I had one called Bewley's Farm several years ago
mm-hmm.
that had the actual sound of a pick hitting the ground
Yep.
as the percussion. This had that same kind of feel to me, that kind of on the chain gang or the work gang. And the other thing I was trying to do was to tell a complete story in as few lines as possible. So there's actually only 6 different lines of poetry in the thing.
Mm.
And so I felt good about that. That's what I was aiming for.
When you went to write this album, did you write it with an entire concept and like, this is what's going to happen, or were these songs that just kind of serendipitously came together as an album?
It came together. Some of them I've re-recorded from other uh, projects I've done, and part of to do that was I liked the sound so much of this stripped down sound that I wanted to look at those same songs with a different perspective on it. So there's a variety of old, borrowed, and blue on this, and then of course I decided to do a House of the Rising Sun, which we do uh, in in our performance, the band performance, and it's always such a hit. I thought I should get that out.
And it's different for folks. It's a whole different take.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. I in an earlier version of my performance band, we had a woman that played keyboard, and she brought that song in, and we were doing it one night, and I just kind of went, oh, we were doing it, the
Tired of
da da
doing,
da da
yeah,
da da
yeah,
da da da
yeah.
da. And I said, I just can't do that anymore. I said, been doing it that way since I was 14 years old. And so suddenly this whole arrangement just kind of popped into my mind. And then I developed it from there, basically.
That's awesome. Well, it's a timeless song, right? House of the Rising Sun is like one of these old classics that never everyone should have heard. I mean, and so many people have done it.
Yeah.
It- it's Eric Burton is, probably one of the most famous ones doing it, but I mean, it's been done in so many different ways, and I think that's a when a good song allows you to crafted in who you are, that's a good song. It's got its own
Yeah, yeah,
bones
yeah.
that allows you to bend and shape it, right? Bend me, shape me. Anyway,
Sammy Shavy, yeah.
I can't believe I just thought of that, but but you know what I mean? It's like because that's a song with good bones that you can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and what I did with it, people will probably notice, although again, it's interesting. I've only had one review that actually talks about what I did with it. I changed the tempo from three quarters
Hmm.
to 4/4, and then just made it hard. I kept thinking of a punk song. I kind of wanted it to be like a punk song, you know, so that especially on the chorus part, um, or the parts in between the verses rather, the bass player is going da 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 like a punk song does.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I like
yeah,
I I think that's you just got to give it some more life, you know. Everything's got to have
yeah,
its
yeah.
own new life to it to keep it going. Otherwise, songs like that do, go become dust in the wind.
I didn't want to just do it like everybody else. And I've listened,
No,
a lot of people do it very similarly. And it's not that they're not good at it. It's just like, it's like,
it's like
let's
at
try something.
last, right? Everybody wants
Yeah.
to sing it exactly like Etta
Yeah,
James at
yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
wedding, and it's like, no, don't try. Just do something different. Do your own version, and those songs that you can.
Yeah, yeah.
It just has those right bones. But you these songs too. I mean, you've got relationship songs in here. You've got a little bit of everything, you know. So like, how can I still love you? Come on, I like that one. And Ma Belle Cherie. Oh, I recognize that.
I'd recorded that before on my
Okay.
folk album, Backwoods Glance. And again, on that one, I had quite a full orchestration. I had a squeeze box and a lot of stuff going on. And once I got this new stripped down sound, I said, "Oh, I bet that song would sound good, just bare bones like it is," and indeed it did. So again, it's just guitar, bass, and drums,
Mm.
and my fractured French.
Well, yeah, that I can't comment on anything about anybody doing anything with the French language because I butcher it. So, and I'm not a good butcher, so it's not good. But the thing with what you're doing, the stripped down, does feel like I don't know. For me, it's I'm very visual. When I listen to it, when it's a story that you can follow, right? You get into
Yeah,
that
yeah,
mode and
yeah.
that mindset, and just the places we've traveled, which I know we've talked about before, but it does feel like that. You could listen to this in one of those old barns and just sit there, maybe have a brown jug, why not? And just enjoy it. It just goes with it. And
Oh,
so,
that's
like,
nice.
what are the responses you're getting, like being in the Bay Area where it's a little different to me, but you could just sit on a porch and play it out there too. It just feels like porch music. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I do. I attend a few different jam sessions, and we'll do these songs there. My band is a little bit more. It's even though we call it an acoustic blues band, it does have an electric tinge to it. So it's
Hmm.
because it has a drummer and stuff. But we do those. That's basically our set. That we do. I mean, one of our sets that we do. Um, and so it isn't really porch, but it can be on the porch.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've just been out on verandas in the forest too long, but it goes out. It goes with it. I'm sorry. And if you're not and you want to be there, that's what you put on. You know what I mean? That
Well, I've just
transports you
always loved
there.
that Southern music since I was a kid. That whole genre of both the blues and the folk from
Hmm.
that area. You know.
And it merges together. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you even think like Sister Rosetta Tharpe, she went back and forth she didn't just stick to one format, you know?
right. Yeah.
Everybody's had different, they all nudge each other. There's no way you can live in one region and not be influenced by your neighbor,
Oh,
you know,
exactly, exactly.
unless you hate your neighbor. I mean, that could happen too.
Well, even when you hate them,
It's in the
you
South. I mean,
might
anything
pick
could
it up.
happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, when you look at Southern music, I find it fascinating. I want to do like a regional show on music because it's not only the roots, it's what's changed within the roots. There's, in Louisiana, we were at a folk festival in Natchitoches and watching bands, Cajun and Zydeco bands with their family, right? And this is
Mhm.
generational, multi-generational on a stage. And then the younger guys will get up there and start doing some rap parts in there and
Yeah,
changing it
yeah.
up a little bit, but still honoring the roots. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's kind of like this generational, we're making room for everybody and it's still proper Zydeco Cajun, but we're gonna allow this art form to do what it wants to do. You can't cut off the younger generation for progressing,
No, exactly. I totally agree. I totally
you
agree.
know.
Well, I'm not a purist at all. I think music's got to constantly evolve and stuff. I've played with especially the old timey music crowd often tends to be like, there's one way to do the song and that's the way we do it. But I disagree. I like to see stuff change and evolve
Mhm.
and grow. It's amazing how much rap is working its way into country music and all kinds of different stuff.
Well, rap is a form of protest music at one point, right? Didn't it
Yeah,
all kind
yeah,
of,
oh yeah.
it's all part of it. Punk as well. Like we can't, like I love that you're talking about punk because punk is, I feel like, also part of roots music in a way, maybe not in this, but it is regional. Stuff was going down when I lived in England and punk scene was
Yeah.
happening. They had reason to punk out, you know?
Right, right, right.
So I mean, music comes from a lot of times distress and a place for happiness, right? But it comes
Yeah, yeah.
from something that's, there's a lot of happy music, but how many people write about it's a happy day, it's a beautiful day, you know?
Well,
They do.
some do.
Some do, but there's something that got you to that happy place, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's that pendulum swing in music, and roots is always talks about the history, the strife of the people, and so it can go in all these forms and
All these directions. Yeah, yeah,
put some
yeah,
punk in it. Why not, man? You know, and romance comes in there too, you know.
yeah.
So Cora Lee, why does tell me about that song? Did you write about her before?
Yeah, I actually that's one
Okay.
of the ones I re-recorded.
Okay. Okay,
I
so
did
I'm
that
not
on.
nuts here.
No, 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 no. There were several I re-recorded. And again, the whole reason I did was because I liked the sound. I was listening to my old stuff, just kind of as I do from time to time, and going, "Oh, it's so complicated. It's so full of stuff." And I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm going like, this is just not me anymore. I'm much more
Yeah.
stripped down now. And so Cora Lee was one where we do that with the band, and I just thought, boy, I could really make this come together. On the original recording, that was when I was still very much involved in studio effects and stuff. So there's like a pretty good sounding flute solo, except I created on the computer and stuff. So it's like very plastic, and I took it off the plastic, took the plastic out of it, basically.
So, but I mean, it is true when you get into a new zone, it's like you kind of like, all right, that's it. Now this is my thing. You know,
Yeah,
screw what
yeah,
I've done
yeah,
in the
exactly.
past. Yeah, I know that's isn't that well, Nancy always talks about when she was a painting because she's a wildlife
Yeah,
artist. And then she would overpaint. Like she would have to learn to just like at this point put it away. You need to
stop.
walk
Yeah,
away
yeah,
at some
yeah.
point. And that can happen in music, right? When you just start creating an
Oh,
orchestra.
especially in the studio, and especially when I was first starting out. You got the toys, so you want to play with them, and you can do umpteen tracks, so let's do it. And now it's just cut it way back, and we recorded this basically live. We just went into a
Oh,
studio and separated ourselves, and then I went back and overdubbed new guitar parts and my vocals, but otherwise the whole feel was very live and while it was happening,
are you the one
which I
doing the
liked a
slide?
lot.
I love the slide.
Pardon?
That's the slide guitar. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
thing. That is, yeah. Did you do that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I did all the
Oh,
guitar parts. Yeah.
now do you use a different guitar when you're doing slide or are you
Yeah, I have
using
a
this?
I have one of those steel body
Oh,
uh
I knew it.
what they call resonator guitars,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it has that distinctive Mississippi swamp sound that I really love.
As soon as I hear it, I'm like, okay, man, come on. don't turn it off. Like,
Well, I'll tell
hearing
you,
it.
I've gotten such. I mean, the album's gotten very good reviews, and a lot of people have been commenting on my guitar work, which has made me very proud and happy. You know, it's like
Well,
I've
you
gotten
know what?
some.
That's the thing about stripping down. It's now real. Like it's like this is the bare bones. Here it is, and
Yeah,
there's nothing to hide behind. You took the
right,
curtain
right,
away,
right.
right?
Yeah,
It's raw. Yeah. Wow. So no, but
yeah,
that
and
the guitar work you can hear it's so distinct and it's so like it's it. I think it came out really well. Honestly, I love the album. It's cool.
well, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm real proud of this one
I just want more
and all of them.
slide. I just want more slide. I always want more slide. Give me slide. It's like
I'll have
everybody's
to
doing
do an all
Freebird.
slide one. So
Dude, that would be sweet, wouldn't it? Like you should do an
yeah,
all
yeah.
slide guitar.
I thought about it. I thought at some point I may, if I keep this up, I'm thinking about just doing a pure like just me and guitar, like the way it would be if I was in Mississippi in the old days or
Only if you're
something, you
doing
know?
it on a porch with a brown
Yeah,
jug. No, you don't have to have a jug, but that's fun too. But you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
you got to think about the old blues guys weren't doing huge backup. That only came later, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, I've
just
always loved that era of music anyway, so that's my main influence on everything I do, really.
now if you could take this album to three musicians of the past and say, "Hey, like I want you to jam with me on this album and keep it stripped down," who would you invite? And for
Oh
what
my
song?
God.
I know. Isn't that a good one? And for what song? So three songs, three musicians or singers.
Oh my God.
I know.
Um, you know which ones you'd pick? Well, you tell me first. You
Oh,
tell me first.
what? No, no. Listen, this is
Okay.
you're the hot
Let's
stuff.
see.
I'm gonna do
Well,
Big Bill.
I'd
I
want
think
to get Sun House on something.
yeah,
Sun House on Big Bill would probably be
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Okay.
And Lonnie Johnson on it's on no, just the one we were just talking about.
Which one?
How Can I Still Love You? Lonnie
Oh, how
Johnson
can
on
I
that.
still you of you? Okay.
Yeah, because he'd do a killer guitar part. And Muddy Waters on House of Rising Sun. There we go.
Sweet. That would be interesting. Yeah, I think he would go for it. He would be like, "All right, man, this is interesting. Let's do it." You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That would be
Yeah,
cool.
he is a huge influence on my slide playing because he's very sloppy and just, you know,
But that's a
intense.
but that's actually a very interesting thing you say that about your music because you have that, okay, I'm keeping the rhythm. You're very like here, but you allow that flow to be very natural. This is, it's like I'm not going to over perfect what I do. Like you allow that little edge of, like you're saying, sloppiness, but it's not, I don't like that word. You're just letting it be natural and not, you know, you're it's like you're not damming the river,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
you know?
again, the move away from the studio sound and the more live I can get, you know, I'm
Hmm.
liking that. And I just don't think you have to have stuff perfect. You know, it's like pop music today is so perfect, it's so pristine, but it doesn't have for me, and I know I'm an old fogey, but it doesn't have just the feel, the warm feeling you one should get from music, I don't think, you know.
Yeah, it's different now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's really, and like I say, we're in that world of AI generated stuff. It's like it's so important to get to a place where we actually just have something from a human being. And I think that's going
yeah.
to become very important as we navigate these waters. AI isn't bad for everything. It's done some good things for medicine. There's some good things, and there's some really bad things coming out of it,
Oh yeah,
and
all
take
this,
stealing from the arts is one of them because we
yeah,
create
yeah.
it first and then it steals it and reproduces it.
Right,
So it
right,
can't
right.
say that is it doesn't have its own brain, came from us.
No, no, it's all pastiche in a way, you know, convincing pastiche, but still pastiche.
Yeah, I think that's what's important about this album is like I think more musicians should go towards that and also the raw sound makes you a better player, when you do that you're not, like I was saying, hiding behind the other instrumentation,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that you did, but there's that way of like, okay, like that, I know that part I'm not going to be that great on, so I'm just going to let this one take that part. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. We always
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I need backups on this part of the vocals, but then just to be real, that connects more with the soul, I think, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And I even tried just to keep it more real to do like my guitar solos. I would do several takes of them, but to do a solid straight ahead take where I didn't cut up other takes into it, just to keep that whole continual flow feeling to it.
Yeah, no, no, that's cool. So, oh, so good. Tell us about the title. Is that how you felt?
Well, I was batting around for titles, and of course, I had the song called "Oh So
Right.
Good," and I thought, well, this would be kind of a brash thing to do because supposing critics didn't like it, then they'd be saying, "Oh So Good is oh so bad," or
Yeah.
it opened me up to jokes, but everybody's liked it so far. So mostly, I've gotten people saying, "Oh So Good is oh so good," and I love that. So that's
That
great.
worked out. That
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
risk.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, you got to take the risk, right? You
yeah,
know?
yeah. And I
Uh,
really like that song. It's the third cut on the album, and it's just it's got such a nice kind of Fodio Do early jazz quality to it.
mhm. That's what I love. You always bring in a little bit of something, and unexpected too through an album.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not all Big Bill. You think so. You start listening, you think, oh, this is what the whole album's going to be like. No, it's not. Nuh-uh.
Well, that is sort of my trademark. All
Yeah.
my albums have been very eclectic and a broad range of styles because I like so many kinds of music, and I just find when I sit down to write, like this comes in and this comes in, different uh, of my influences come in, but some people would then channel them into the same kind of groove or something.
Hmm.
And I just tend to go, oh, maybe it's time to write a Cajun song. So then I do.
And you did. You had
Yeah.
the little Louisiana in there,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. It's very
Yeah.
Cajun.
Yeah.
What I often do, in fact, is when I realized I had a Cajun song kind of brewing in my head, I sat down and listened to my collection of Cajun stuff and kind of said, okay, what are the characteristics that make the way the chords are used and the structure and stuff that make it sound like what you associate with Cajun music. So there's the kind of research to it, I guess.
Ah, that's cool though. I mean, do you go down music rabbit holes of research of learning different
Oh,
sounds?
constantly. And YouTube is like the rabbit hole. I'm
Isn't it?
kidding.
Yeah, but we didn't have that before where we were able to go see like somebody filmed us and was kind enough to put it up on the internet, right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
To be able to
I'm just
see like
amazed
even
because I
Woodstock and
like
stuff.
old time blues and stuff. I'm amazed how many performances are out there because they were when the folk revival hit in the
Mhm.
60s and the 50s, they were filming these guys as fast as they could before they died. And so there's a wealth of good stuff out there.
Yeah,
So
man. I'm still looking for more Memphis Slim. I have a thing about Memphis Slim. He wrote a song, it's Mother Earth,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
all
yeah.
comes down. We're going to go back to Mother Earth, and I'm like, that's the reality, right? We're all going there. But I don't know what, everyone has songs that just kind of, that's it. It's part of you for some reason. And
Yeah.
I've seen one where he played it and then it disappeared and I have to go back and search. I'll find it again, but it comes on and off. But I love that. And to be able to see someone like him, like
Oh yeah, it's
I mean, I was
amazing.
never, you know, we lived off of sheet music and what we could find
Yeah,
on
yeah,
albums when we had
yeah.
no idea. We didn't know, nobody was writing books at the time when I was a kid, really that much on them. You'd look at liner notes and albums to try and configure who these people were, you know?
Right, right, right. Yeah,
God.
it's amazing. No, I love, like you say, the rabbit hole of YouTube. Just it can draw you in for
Well, then you
hours.
said it, pick up and try a new lick and go from there.
Pardon? I'm sorry.
When you
What'd you
go in
say?
a rabbit hole and you'll find someone like do you find new licks to play on the guitar and new like
Oh,
sounds like,
licks
oh,
and
let me try
sometimes
this, you know?
yeah, licks sometimes well, uh there's a song I have on my last album called If Beale Street Was a Woman, and
I
And
remember that. Yes,
I got that off an old jazz song that had that line in it. I just stole the line. You
that's
know, I
such a
didn't.
good line, though. It is. I
Yeah,
remember
I
that
loved it.
going.
I
That was
loved it.
cool. That is cool. Well, the thing
Oh,
is,
and
you
Cora
know,
Lee, there was another song
yeah,
um, that was about. It was a song about the death of Blind Lemon Jefferson. It was written by a guy, and I can't remember who it was, who had been a friend of his and learned about it. He was somewhere else in the nation and learned about it later and wrote this song about the postman bringing him this bad news and addressed the postman. So I incorporated that into Cora Lee.
but
The whole
and and that's funny because when you think about how that date, like music, the postman was a big deal in music, right? What the
oh
postman
yeah,
bring was always a
yeah.
part of, oh, was it a good letter, a bad letter, a death letter? Was it,
Right.
a goodbye letter, you're out, the letters, the postman was like the big deal in life. And now not so much. Now it's,
No.
social media, let's kill each other, let's whatever. We won't get into that. But we've had some great news over the years, lately. But anyway, I'm just putting that lightly. But the reality is like that what you got in the mail was like this, it was special, what you got,
Yeah.
unless you got a really bad letter,
Yeah, right.
the letter, even that song was, the box tops, the letter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a
I think people tended to, if you wrote a nasty letter, you might sit and tear it up afterwards. Whereas these days, if you write a nasty email, you just send it, you know.
because you don't even type it now. You're just you're doing the
Voice it.
voice
Yeah,
recording and
exactly.
sending it and like screw you, or it types it out for you and
Right.
right. We don't have any emotional stops. It's a really good point. We don't have emotional stops anymore, you know,
Yeah.
because before you'd have to wait for the mail to come, and by that
To
time maybe
come
you've
and
calmed down, you know.
well, sometimes if you were angry, just the sheer act of writing the letter
Calms you
got it
down.
out of you, got it
Right.
out of you.
It's therapy, right? Just don't put
Yeah,
this postage stamp on these days because it's expensive. My God. What
exactly.
it's like, what happened to that? But I don't know. And nowadays I don't know. I had to mail a letter recently and it was important. And I realized I can't write. Like no one. I mean, I learned cursive in school. I had like good writing. I was one of, I'm a Virgo. I'm annoying. Like everything
Oh
has to
yeah.
be perfect. No, I'm worse than
You
a
can't do it
doctor.
anymore,
My hand literally is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't
huh?
know what you mean, but I take notes. But then as soon as it has to be important, my hand's like shaky. I'm like, what is this? Like, you didn't even drink wine last night. What's going on? So that's kind of, I wonder how many people are like me at this point of knowing how to write. Isn't that
Well,
weird?
I'm the same way, but unfortunately, I was always that way. My handwriting is always terrible.
Oh,
My mother had just the most beautiful handwriting you ever saw in your life, and she could write both left and right-handed, which is even
no
weirder.
way. Oh, she's
Yeah.
ambidextrous or,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, she had been left-handed, and then in those days in schools, they beat it out of you. They
Oh, yeah.
made you switch. So she ended up being able to write both ways.
Isn't that
And her
weird?
handwriting was beautiful. Mine has always been unreadable mess.
Yeah, I just say it's creative. It's a creative
Yeah.
spirit. It's an art form. Now,
A
when
hurt
you
form.
write songs, do you write lyrics and chords, or are you writing the actual notation, or do you just remember it?
I don't notate stuff. I just record it
Could you
down and keep the
imagine
tune
doing
that
that
way.
with all the little things and,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
good God.
I've like learned to read and write music maybe 4 times in my life, and then I forget it immediately. Um,
Yeah.
no, I don't notate stuff. Every once in a while, I note something that if I'm trying to teach somebody apart, like a musician or something. But mostly it's just you can just record it and then you have the tune anyway. So so
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, the notation thing, bless everybody who can do it. I have mad respect for anybody who can sit and take the
oh, me
lined
too, me
paper
too. Yeah.
and do all that, and then even do the timing, and then, oh, you didn't leave too much. Now you're running out of this line. No, I, I did that as a kid, but I can't now. But now, I mean, now things print out for you, right? It's like the notations
Yeah,
come
yeah.
out.
Oh, yeah. You can, well, that's it. You can just do it so easily.
So that's a good part of AI because that is connected, it's
Yeah, yeah.
that's a good part.
No, oh, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of good parts. It's just gotten so there was a period where we were using it and it couldn't do so many things. And
Mm,
now we're hitting this point where it can do way too many things, you know.
yeah. Oh well. Well, thank
So,
goodness we have music like yours to keep us
well, thank
centered
you.
and calm. Another one in works, the strip down coming down.
No, if I do another one, I give myself a couple years again.
Yeah.
It's there's so much work involved in it because it isn't just the music. It's like you got to do the videos and the promotion and all this stuff. You know, it's like I've kind of feel like I've maybe run the course for a while. You know that 10 albums is a good body of work
Hmm.
and not that I won't do another one, but I want to really think about it and make it special. You know.
Well, each one, that's the thing. If you just, spit them out, and because I think, I know you did some, back to back kind of thing, but they were still really well done. I mean, there's
Oh
no,
yeah, thank you,
you don't,
thank
you
you.
don't, you don't, I think sometimes there's also the fire in the belly when you've got that, like, ooh, I got this, and you want to keep going. You've got lots flowing, and creativity. Sometimes that happens, but I agree with you. I mean, it's like when you feel it, you do it, man. You know, if you don't,
Yeah,
you don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Keep it real. Yeah. Well,
I've kind of hit a point too where uh 10 albums is like 120 songs and and I've used up probably most of my really good ones, you
oh my,
know.
that's a
I
lot.
I
Yeah.
I I think I could probably write an album, but I think I'd have to do that next is really sit down and
You
say,
could always
okay.
do like an EP, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
or do singles like the world is doing. The world is
yeah,
singles. That's
yeah.
weird. I like the albums. I
I like
do.
albums too.
There's
I like to kind of dip into that whole somebody's, you know, you get in, you become their guest in their mind for whatever
right.
the course of the album
You
is,
listen
you
to the
know.
whole thing because each song needs to flow after the other. It's like a
Yeah,
permanent
yeah,
set, you know. It's like this would be the set list, and I'm not changing it according to my audience in the room.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Isn't that right? Because we do
Mhm.
change it when we get in front of an audience. So this audience isn't going to pick this one up. Let's do this one, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's true.
But it's
That's
not
true.
mean. It's like connectivity and everything. It just depends on the atmosphere, the place you are. Like it just all those things come to be. You could have your set list, but how many people really stick to their set list?
Yeah, I don't know, you know, we do something interesting where we have our entire we have about 85 plus songs in our repertoire
Wow.
and in my performing band. And so I often I have it printed on 3 sheets of paper, organized by rough category of fast, medium, and slow.
Oh,
And sometimes we perform. I just have them lined up in front of me on the floor, and I pick a fat one, and I pick one and pick one, and that's really fun. I like to do that a lot. We just
yeah.
make it. We just ad hoc do it, and kind of feel out the audience and see what's going over and where their mood is at and stuff.
That's a lot of songs to know, you know?
It is. I'm amazed because I can't remember why I walk into the room.
Well, I remember we interviewed Lucas Nelson, Willie Nelson's son, was on the
Oh
show a
yeah,
few
yeah.
years back, and he'd done an album out of San Francisco. Something Real is what it was called. And him and his brother, and I think the Promise of the Real, his band, had just come off of tour with Neil Young, and he had to learn Neil Young's library. Come
Oh my
on.
God, which must be
He had to know it
huge
because he said Neil Young would just, now we're playing
every
this,
night. Yeah,
and he wouldn't even tell them. He just started, and you better frigging know it. Like,
yeah.
it's like Neil feels this right now, and off he goes, and you better know.
Wow.
Like they have their set list or whatever, but if he was feeling like we're doing free world, okay, easy, let's do that. That's an easy one to do. Pretty
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
I think they always closed with that. But I
Hmm.
mean, that I think it was like they had to learn like over 300 and something songs,
Oh my God.
360 or something like that. Not three, but it feels like that as a
Yeah, yeah,
number.
yeah.
but they
I
all,
couldn't do that.
and then his brother Micah still plays with him, a lot. But sounds like
Mhm.
Crazy Horse is getting back together
Oh, is that right? Interesting.
with him. I don't know.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
doing some new stuff, which would be interesting to see what comes of that. Yeah, we'll
Yeah, he's
see.
an amazing artist, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's done a lot, and he stripped it down for a while too.
Well,
You know?
he's done every kind of sound, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's full out rocking and sometimes it's orchestral. I mean, that's just him.
Sometimes it's just like totally psychedelic. What the hell were you
Psychedelic,
smoking?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not even just psychedelic. What were you doing? And he's happy, but good stuff. Well, it is always a pleasure having you on the show, James. But tell everybody Blind Lemon Pledge, the name. Tell everybody about that part for our new listeners.
Oh, okay. Well, I got the name from an old Martin Mull comedy routine where he invented this character that was supposed to be a white suburban blues man. And and he did a little song that went with it and stuff. And so on the first album I ever recorded, which I did all myself at home, my first using a digital audio workstation, I was trying to pick a name to just put on it, and I went, "Oh, how about that name, Blind Lemon Pledge?" So I put it on there, and I never thought that album would get picked up by anybody. I didn't do anything with it other than send it to friends and family and a few other people. And then a guy in France heard about it and wrote me and said, would I send it to him? So I started sending it to different DJs. And the next thing I knew, I sort of needed to keep the name. So that's what I've been doing. And then in 2015, I trademarked it. So it officially is mine. A lot of other people use it. I see it around. There's
Mm-hmm.
some musician named Todd Snyder who does a whole thing on that as his alter ego, and a couple other people around. But I've I've gotten famous enough in my little tiny pond that people know who I am now. You know, in the acoustic blues world, definitely. So that's kind of nice.
Sweet. Well, everyone, blindlemon-pledge.com is the website. Where can everyone get Oh So Good? All the streaming platforms, right? You're even on
All the streaming
SoundCloud with
platforms,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Can they
yeah.
purchase an actual CD or is it all streaming?
No, they don't do that anymore. So it's really it's all digital downloads.
Okay. So even like Amazon, Spotify, all that
No,
kind
they
of stuff.
don't. I have. There's a company called CD Baby that people know about that I use to produce my work, and they stopped carrying uh, CD records, so it's all
Hmm.
digital now.
Well, go to your favorite digital place or streaming outlet and get it. Oh, so good. Again, Blind Lemon Pledge. Thanks so much, James. Always a pleasure. We'll talk
Always
again
a
soon. I
pleasure
know
too.
we will,
Okay, take care.
but not in 3 years. Okay.
There is a house down in New Orleans. They call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many poor souls. And God, I know I was one. My mother, she was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. And my daddy was a confidence man. He worked out of New Orleans. And the only thing that a grifter needs is a suitcase and a gun. And the only time that he comes alive is when he's on the run. tell your children not to do what I have done, and shut that house down in New Orleans, the one they call the rising sun. I got one foot on the platform, I got another foot on the train, and I'm going back to end my days. I'm gonna wear that ball and chain. There is a house down in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many poor souls. And God, I know I was one, and God, I know I was one.